On this episode of This is Game Boy, how do you make an alien's baby sleep? You rock it. Welcome to another episode of This is Game Boy. I am eBloodyCandy, and with me for big episodes, as always, is Moelle.
Hello there.
Hello there. Before we dive into our very bouncy episode, let's give an update on what we've been up to. Mo, what have you been up to?
I haven't been doing much, to be perfectly honest. I made myself just play through Picross 2 before playing anything else for like portable pleasure, because this game needs to be over with. At least for me, it needs to be over with, and taking a break in between every time, I was like, then it's just gonna last longer. So I'm just doing it in one go now, and I've been doing it for like, a month and a half or something.
A long time.
I crossed the 100-hour mark in total. I think I'm at 107 hours currently. And I have 6 pictures to go, and that translates to 24 15 by 15 puzzles, so I should be done next stream or within 2 streams. Just the biggest hurdle with Picross 2 is that, like, you really need to concentrate on it. At least I do, because I'm not like super good at it. Like, I can do it, but I'm not super good at it, so I'm like not very active. That's why I'm also just playing music in the background while I say numbers for 2.5 hours, basically, trying to count. That's basically how it goes. So the streams haven't been like really active, and I wouldn't say not fun. That's certainly not true. But it's like very, very casual, laid back, chill stream most of the time, because like I don't even have any emotions during that stream. It's just, hi guys, I'm playing Picross again.
Just dead inside.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that I'm dead inside, because again, I like Picross. I think it's a really cool game, but like for a system challenge, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Like the amount of content, this is just absurd.
I mean, like, you spent 100 hours in the game. That's literally a third of the amount of time I've done with my Game Boy challenge, and I just finished 237 games last night.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is the longest game I've done so far. The second place goes to surprise, surprise, Picross 1, which was 36 hours. But I mean, that was like the right amount, I guess. Yeah, it's like the double the amount of a normal puzzle game on Game Boy, basically. This is just completely out there. But yeah, I'm almost done. I can finally put it to rest, thank God. And again, not that I'm not enjoying playing Picross, but it's just, I'm over it. It's been enough for me. So
this is the last one for you too, right?
Yeah, there's only 2 on Game Boy. Picross 2 is actually the 3rd Mario Picross game. The other one is Super Picross for Super Nintendo, but thank God I don't have to do that. But again, that game is actually also only like 30 hours. I have no idea how they did it. I thought this was one of the biggest Game Boy cards or something, but it's literally as big as any other, because there's nothing in it. It's just squares and that's it. So it's not even a big game or anything. But it's crazy that they put that much in it, and it shows that they could have put even more in it if they wanted to. So yeah, thank God for that. So yeah, that's all I've been playing on Game Boy. I'm very looking forward to playing a few action-y games after this before diving into more puzzles, because I have so many puzzle games left. It's probably gonna kill me. But besides that, like in my own free time, I haven't been gaming that much either, actually. Sometimes when I have to wait an hour or an hour and a half before I have to do something else, I just put in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. Because I really would like to have the Platinum Trophy in that, but it's literally just getting to level 100, which is bull. Like, I think I have 2 characters left in career mode to finish everything with, and all their own challenges and things like that. I've done a majority of the random challenges in the game. I think there's like a counter that... I'll just say a random number. Let's say there's 800 challenges in the game you can do. I've done 600 of them, give or take. And I'm still only level 85, so there's 15 levels to go. They really didn't balance that correctly, and I was hoping they would patch it a little better, but they didn't, so... One day I'll get that trophy, but... It sucks that they did it like that, because otherwise I would have been done with that game already. And I feel like for a game like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the challenges are fun and all, but once you have completed the game with every character in the game, you should be done. It should just be over. But yeah, that's the opinion of a lot of people. But sadly, they're not really changing it anyways. And besides that, sometimes I also pick up Sekiro. I'm getting to the end, but there's one boss now that I absolutely cannot beat. Like, I don't even understand how to do anything. I tried for 2 hours and I just get 1 or 2 hits and I'm dead. Like, I don't know how to do this at all. Luckily I can still play a little bit of the game somewhere else, so I'm doing that. But this is another game that I just, like, I play for like an hour or 2 hours and then I don't get sick of it, but it is a lot of concentration because it's a really hard game, and my hands get tired as well because there's like a lot of blocking and dodging you have to do. So after a while I just tire out of it, so I put it aside. But I'll get there one day again, I guess. Hopefully, because that boss is absolutely crazy. And apparently he's the second hardest boss in the game. For people who have played Sekiro, it's the fight with Owl in the past. If that tells you anything. Like, I can't do it. I don't understand him.
That's the Dark Souls Samurai game, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't even call it that.
Or the people that made Dark Souls, or whatever.
Yeah, it is from Software indeed, but this plays more like a rhythm game than a fighting game. I know that doesn't make any sense if you're not playing it yourself, but it's basically one-on-one fights throughout the entire game, except for when you're like traversing through the stages. But once you come across an enemy that's like a mid-boss or a boss, it basically turns into a reaction game and a rhythm game. Like, you have to put in the good controls or inputs at the correct time, or you will get destroyed. But yeah, for that boss, I just can't do it. Maybe my brain can't grasp it. Well, yeah, that's literally all I've been playing, so not much. I'm not super enjoying my gaming moments at the moment. But yeah, it will get better. I think after Picross 2, I'm gonna take like a week break from streaming or something, and then just play some other games for once in my life. But yeah, that's everything I've been doing.
I've been playing a lot of WoW Classic lately, which I think might come to a slow stop here soon, hopefully. As most of you know, if you follow WoW, the Burning Crusade Classic came out like a month or 2 ago. And we're basically at the end of Phase 1, which was, the first set of content to come out. And we're all waiting for Phase 2 to come out, but since all I do is dominantly raid or PvE content, my raid team is changing raid days, so there's a chance that I won't raid anymore, which means I won't play Classic WoW anymore. So there's a chance that my weeks start to get freed up again. On top of that, I started playing League of Legends with friends again because it's like I haven't talked or hung out with my friends in a year and a half due to COVID, and all they play is League of Legends. So I was like, all right, I'll bite. I re-downloaded League of Legends after like 8 years of not playing it, and I play like 1 or 2 games a night with them now, just so I can hang out with them.
Yeah, there are better games to do that with. But
there are. I agree. I don't like League of Legends at all.
Yeah.
But that's what my friends are into, so that's what I'll play with them if that's what it takes to hang out with them. Yeah, I hate League. Everything about League I hate. So, yesterday I guess I did Beavis and Butthead for the Game Boy, which was actually a really cool game. I've played it before. So it only took me like an hour this time around. I got lost, I think, once because I forgot where the police station was. But cool game. Like I wouldn't mind throwing some runs at it, honestly, because it is a really easy game with a lot of weird glitches. I would say the hardest part is the sewer. So, but otherwise, cool game. And then I played Parasol Hinby. That game is freaking awesome. It's the most bare bones simple game in the world, but that game is phenomenal because it's all about health management.
Yeah.
Amazing Japanese exclusive, and very hard to find. A loose copy is kind of sort of cheap, but with shipping, because it has to come from Japan, it's about $30 in shipping because COVID. And a complete box of it's like $300. So
wow.
Yeah. So you can find a loose copy of it. Buy the cover of it is adorable. Assassin's Creed Valhalla second DLC, which is their final big DLC, Siege of Paris, came out last week or something like that. This was the DLC I was super stoked about because like this was the big like Vikings invade Paris. Like this was like the big moment in Viking history. Is like trying to break through the walls of Paris, and the DLC sucked so bad. And I was like, no. I'm like, how? Like Wrath of Druids was. I'm not big into like Ireland or Ireland history or anything like that at all. But the Wrath of Druids DLC was phenomenal. Like one of the best Assassin's Creed DLCs I've played. And I was like, so I was really stoked for Siege of Paris. I'm like, if they did that good on Wrath of Druids, I can't imagine what Siege of Paris is going to be like. And we get into Siege of Paris, and all the colors are just drowned out. The music is awful. The French voice acting is just atrocious. like the worst fake French accents I've ever heard in my life. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, this is the biggest moment for the Vikings, and you screwed it. So I was a little upset by that. I didn't even 100% the DLC. I literally just played through the campaign, and it took me 8 hours. I was like, I'm done. I'm not even going to go back and 100% it. That's how bad it was.
That's sad.
Yeah. I was very disappointed. They introduced 2 new weapon types. A one-handed sword, finally. It only took them a year to put that into the game. And then they gave you a scythe. Mind you, the scythe is crazy overpowered. 2 hits, you basically kill a person with a scythe. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go back to my old weapons to make the game fun again. So, and then in my quote-unquote gaming spare time, I play Final Fantasy XIV. Getting through a Realm Reborn right now and into Heaven's Ward, so I can get to Stormblood and whatever the other expansion's called.
No idea.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's what I've basically been doing. I kind of just started getting back into playing games and streaming again, honestly, because I took a pretty big hiatus to like focus on me. Hiatus, I guess, like break. You know, had a couple streams here and there, but like nothing like crazy like every day or whatever else. But yeah, no, like I'm just now slow rolling myself back into everything again. So I'm hoping to get more retro stuff out. Like, there's a bunch of like Beavis Butthead games I actually want to play that are on PC. So, I actually want to start diving into some of the Sega stuff, even though I'm not a big Sega fan. So, probably expect that in the future. But yeah, nothing much really. A lot of MMOs right now, just because
Apparently, yeah.
Well, that's just what That's just what's there to like. It's the best time waster, honestly, because it's like I can start a Game Boy game, then I have to put it down, and it's like, okay, I forgot where I left off, or I have to like pause, like write down a password, or like if I'm playing on an emulator, which I rarely do, I have to save state. Like MMOs are just easy, like you boot it up, play for a couple hours, hit the X button or Alt F4, and you can pick right up where you left off. Like there's no like writing down a password or remembering. It's just an easy like pick up and go game. So, or genre rather. But yeah, that's all I've been up to. And obviously, like side stuff for legs and whatnot. I'll eventually get manual scanned again. I've actually found all of my Game Boy label scans. So
that's a start.
Yeah, all like 205 of them. There's a lot of them. It's not even up to date. I have more that I just never scanned, so I'll probably just rescan everything again. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. And then this episode, I guess I played this game too for this episode. I guess I add that onto the list. But this episode we have Chavo 55, which is a game with a very interesting history. So stay tuned, and we'll get right back into it. Welcome back, everybody. So yeah, Chavo 55. Just a quick general overview of Chavo, I guess. The game came out February 21st of 1997 in Japan. I believe this is a Japanese exclusive game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Developed by Japan System Supply. Published by Japan System Supply. I've also saw Nintendo also publish this as well too, so I've seen both names in correlation to publishing.
Yeah, maybe a reprint or something that Nintendo did. But Japan System Supply, nobody will probably know, but they have been around since they had been around since 1985. But the company went out of business in 2000, I believe. They made a lot of games, or published a lot. Well, they didn't make a lot. They made a lot of games, or one game for a lot of different systems. So maybe they were more like I wouldn't say a game publishing or development company, but more like trying things out, like trying out new technologies and seeing what they could do with it, because it's usually just one game per system that they made. It's really weird. For Game Boy itself, though, they had Chalvo 55 and Gekitu Power Modeler, which is better known as Power Quest for Game Boy Color. But yeah, Power Quest was on Game Boy, but only Gekitu Power Modeler, and I don't think there's a translation for that at all. So most people know Power Quest for Game Boy Color. It's a really cool game, actually. But yeah, they made stuff for a lot of things. Game Gear, Nintendo 64, PlayStation. They even made one thing for the Switch, which is an arcade archives thing. It's just a compilation of arcade games. But yeah, they were around for a long time. But yeah, the actual company doesn't exist anymore now. It's just quote-unquote part of Nippon Ichi Software, basically.
Yep. And then, is it Takaki?
Yeah.
Takaki Aka? Takaki Aka?
I think Oka, yeah. Takaki
okay?
Oka.
is the composer for Chavo 55, and I the only thing, when I Google searched Takaki Oka, the only thing that came up was Chavo 55. Like, not even like the composer themselves, just the game. So
Yeah. Yeah, apparently this is the only soundtrack he ever made. And technically, and we'll get into that, he didn't even make this one. I would say, yeah. So it's weird, but yeah, there's nothing more you can find about this. Can you call him a composer if he made one soundtrack? I don't know. I guess so. But
audio engineer.
Yeah, you can find another Takaki Oka, which apparently is like a soccer player. But yeah, that's not definitely not the same person.
Yeah, I found them. And we'll get into the designer and stuff in a second. Because like I mentioned earlier, this game has a kind of interesting background to it. In genre, this is a puzzle platformer. So, a puzzle game, but also a platformer. So, and then the plot. The plot of this game always confused me. Like, while playing it, because like I didn't have a manual, and if I did, I couldn't read Japanese anyway. So like I would just made it up regardless. But like, I guess like reading what you have in the notes here makes sense, but like playing the game, it doesn't. But the plot is the aliens are attacking the Earth. Pretty original plot. Never heard of that one yet. Chavo, a robot, is the only one who can infiltrate their mothership and stop them. This is literally a precursor to Independence Day with Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum. So
yeah, that is the plot. Like, I don't even think in the manual there's anything more talking about this. You get a little intro cutscene at the start of this game. You see the Earth. You see a spaceship coming closer with 4 quote-unquote aliens on it. They look like little robots, basically, but I guess they're aliens. And then you see whoever made Chalvo, I suppose. Like, there's no name or anything, just point at him, and then Chalvo flies up into this guy, and that's literally it. No. I mean, what more do you need, basically?
Well, when I played the game, I thought it was just like robot versus robot. Like, I thought it was like a Transformer type thing, but I was kind of off, I guess.
Yeah.
But before we dive into the actual gameplay element of Chavo 55, it's actually pretty important to understand where the design for Chavo 55 actually came to be. Chavo 55 is a quote-unquote sequel to an unreleased Virtual Boy game called Bound High, which was basically designed by Chameleon Twist creator Hideyuki. Oh God, I'm so good at Japanese games. Hideyuki Nakanishi from Japan System Supply. If you don't know what Chameleon Twist is, it's an N64 game. I think they made 2 of them. He worked as one of the designers and programmers on the project as an undergraduate student. Bound High was a top-down action puzzle game where you take control of Chavo, a robot who transforms into a bouncing ball, and the game's objective is to destroy or knock out your enemies from the playing field and figure out the best way to get rid of them while avoiding obstacles. If you fall
same plot as well as Chalvo 55. Yeah. Like, it has this kind of the same intro, even.
Yep. And if you fall off the playing field, you die, etc., etc. Bound High had 4 game modes that you can choose from. Each one having their own type of like rule set. The main objectives for like Adventure of Chavo, you had a score, attack, random game, and pocket and cushion. The Adventure of Chavo was your multiple set of levels, your story mode, basically. And you have power-ups throughout the thing. Obviously, your score attack is a score-based mode where you have to defeat all the enemies and, get a score. Random game is a skirmish mode where you are just placed precariously in generated stages and you just had to complete them. And Pocket and Cushion tasks the players with getting balls into a hole in the fastest time possible for a high score. Fun little fact on this as well too. On May 3rd, 2010, a ROM image of Bound High and the source code was actually leaked and acquired by a hobbyist at Planet Virtual Boy. And a limited number of repo copies were actually created mimicking the actual release of a Virtual Boy game. So that was actually pretty cool. I've actually haven't played this yet, so...
Yeah, something you like didn't mention is like, and it's nice to put a little spotlight on Virtual Boy for once, because it barely gets talked about because everybody just doesn't like it, basically. Especially the console itself, because the games are actually not that bad. But yeah, Virtual Boy just sold terribly. What a surprise, right? But they did try to do a second relaunch of the thing, and Bound High was one of 2 games that was being developed for it. I don't remember the other one. But
Dragon Hopper.
Yeah, right. And like Nintendo just didn't go through with the relaunch, basically, so those 2 games never got actual released. But yeah, it's nice that that somebody found the ROM for this game and published it so that everybody can play it, because even I checked it out because I was intrigued by it, and it's actually a really fun game. So that's really cool.
Yeah, Bound High has an interesting history in itself too. Just kind of going off on the quote unquote tangent for this episode, I guess, because like the game was complete, the game was done, and the game was showcased at Show Shinkai 1995, and then Nintendo bought its rights right then and there, basically, and was slated for a 1996 release, but then it was showcased at E3 1996, like what Mo mentioned, for the relaunch of the Virtual Boy with Intelligent Systems Dragon Hopper, and it was actually supposed to be released August in 1996 to both US and Japan. And then Nintendo was just like, you know what, the Virtual Boy isn't selling at all, so we're just going to cut it right then and there. Which then leads into the actual Game Boy now, because, like, the Game Boy, you know, now gets this quote-unquote sequel, like, or, you know, I guess the first in the series, however you want to look at it, you know, Chavo 55, but it has little to no involvement at all from Hideyuki Nakanishi, because he just wasn't interested in the Game Boy version at all. He was just like, yeah, cool, whatever. And that was the end of that, basically. So the whole design aspect came from the Virtual Boy, and then the people that worked on the Virtual Boy version ended up just not wanting to be a part of the Game Boy team. So
Yeah, I guess like those people, they made something unique for like a 3D based console, and then they had to like make a normal game, I guess. Maybe that's why they weren't interested at all in it. But hey, we did get Chalvo 55. Why is it called Chalvo 55? No idea. Like, it could have been just called Chalvo, to be honest. Like, where does that 55 even come from?
Or Bound High.
Or just Bound High, yeah. But I mean, Bound High makes sense when you play it as a title, but it doesn't make much sense if you play Chalvo 55, so I can see that. But we did get a very unique puzzle platformer out of it. That is actually a really good game that not that many people know of. So, yeah, it's just interesting that it was a not completely different game, but yeah, just where it comes from is super interesting. And it was a surprise to find out about that when I was researching this game, because I had no idea.
Yeah, I like the Virtual Boy quite a bit. Like I'm a big Virtual Boy game person, and I actually just kind of enjoy the actual system itself, but I wouldn't say that I'm a very knowledgeable person when it comes to like the Virtual Boy history in terms of like release games and promotions, PR, whatever else. So when we're discussing Chavo 55 behind the scenes, you know, Mo made the comment to me. He's just like, "Here's your chance to talk about the Virtual Boy." I'm like, "The hell are you talking about? Like, why would I talk about the Virtual Boy in our Game Boy podcast unless I played a Virtual Boy game?" And when I was doing research on Chavo 55, I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Well, that's interesting." And it comes to the case like there's a crap ton of Virtual Boy games that get created and were either near done or done that just never got released because the Virtual Boy did so bad. So it's like, all right, well, there's a bunch of games out there for the Virtual Boy that just never will see the day of light, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, but definitely check this out. Like, if you have an emulator, you can play Virtual Boy on your PC without having to have like the weird contraption. You can just play it. So I would recommend checking this game out because it's very interesting and it's very addictive as well. And it's simple in its concept. So.
So just a little bit of history before we dive into the gameplay, because like the history of Bound High heavily ties into the gameplay for Chavo 55. So the gameplay itself, your controls are pretty basic. Your D-pad moves you around. A transforms you into a ball. If you hold down the B button, you can push platforms, start pauses so you can see the map. Then select, you can use that to check around your current room. I think you have to hold select, but you can look around. You can look around your room.
Yeah. But yeah, Chalvo has two forms. Unlike Bound High, where he's just in ball form. In this, you have your normal robot form is just a slow-moving guy. And if you would drop down a platform, you would fall straight down, so you can't move while you're in midair. And that's where the ball form comes into play to like jump over gaps or to fall down to the left or to the right when going down a pit. That's where you will use your ball form, and it basically also works like in Metroid, like the ball form to crawl around in tight spaces and things like that. But it does come with a disadvantage. When you're in the ball form, you will constantly be bouncing. So it's not like you can be stationary on the ground. You will forever be bouncing, so you have to keep that in mind while traversing the stage or the room.
Yeah, which was one of the, I would say like the first hurdle I had to overcome was just like, how do I do this but not also do this at the same time? Because I wasn't expecting as soon as you press A to start bouncing right away. I thought it was something like bouncing. If you've ever played like Bouncing Ball or what's the non-ROM hacked version of Bouncing Ball?
Cool Ball.
Cool Ball, where like you kind of start on the platform, then you have to press A to actually get up in the air and start bouncing around. Like there's actually like an activation to it. That was one of the hurdles with this game for me in a way, but while you're in a, I guess, quote-unquote normal mode, you drop straight down 8 stages of increasing difficulty and size. Each room you have has multiple exits and entrances that can be accessed in certain ways, and your job is to find the best route through all the rooms and to find the 5 hidden gems by opening the exit doors. So
for this game, like usually we do like a stage roundup, I guess, like talking about each stages. For this game, we just cannot do that because it's basically always the same but harder and bigger. Let's just say it like that. Like any puzzle game would be. But I think like in the first stage you only have like 12 rooms and then you have 16 rooms and yada yada yada. It just gets bigger and bigger the farther you go along until you reach the max. I think 5x5 is the max. There is 25 rooms in total, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's all about finding your way through a maze, basically. Like, you have to figure out, oh, if I go this way, I will end up there. And at the start, it's easy because these rooms are all big open rooms, and it's very obvious where things will lead you to. But later on, you go to teleporters that take you completely somewhere different on the map, and you just have to figure out how to navigate through everything.
Yeah, what's interesting too about the game is when you get into like the map screen, it tells you what stage you're on, how many lives you have, and how many gems you've collected. It tells you like what rooms you've been to, kind of like similar to like how Metroid did it for you as well too. Something nice about the game as well is that it tells you like how to enter like the world map and how to exit as well too, which sometimes, like, honestly, in like a map game, sometimes the controls aren't great, because like you'll press B and all of a sudden like you'll explode by, because of an intended suicide mechanic, or you press B and you go into some other weird menu that you've never knew about. And I don't know, like I always appreciate when developers put like on-screen instructions for their actual like menus like this, because sometimes like they're just like, well, whatever. Like Alien 3, for example, like if you've ever grabbed like the map item in Alien 3 for Game Boy and opened it up, you'd be like, what the hell is this? Like, there's a bunch of weird icons with numbers next to them, and then there's like a map thing that just doesn't make sense at all, because you don't know where you are, nor do you know like what the map is even supposed to be of, and like it's just a mess. But Chavo 55 actually does a really nice job, like with an organized menu, telling you like how to navigate through like just the map screen in itself. Has all of your lives and what stage you're on, which is nice because it doesn't show that information on the actual gameplay screen itself, which I appreciate, because if I'm playing a game like Chavo 55, I want as much screen real estate as possible so I can see what's going on.
Yeah, because this game does use big sprites.
Yes.
Rooms are not just one screen. That's why they also put the ability to look around, of course, which is also something a lot of people don't do in these kinds of games, or even in platformers where you have to do like these blind jumps to nowhere just because you can't look around the room or what's above or beneath you. So thank God this exists. Sadly, I never knew about this, so I never used it. Could have probably helped me out in a lot of situations, but yeah, it's there. It's definitely there.
I think I figured it out on accident, because like there's a lot of times like I was like in robot mode and I didn't know what was like below me, and I out of just experience from playing these games so much now, I usually like I hold down to like hope like the camera will scroll, and I didn't get that, and I was like, oh. And then I just started pressing buttons, and I eventually figured out how to like scroll the camera, and I was like, but I didn't know like what button I pressed, because I was an idiot and just started like mashing buttons. And so I figured out accidentally like you can move your camera, but I never figured out like fully how to move your camera. So it wasn't super useful for me, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, like and the nice thing about the game too that I can appreciate is the transformation from robot to ball as well too. So before we get into like enemies and hazards and whatnot, a lot of times when you're playing a game that has a transformation, I'll even throw Trip World into this. Like when you're playing Trip World and you're going from Yakapu to flight mode or Yakapu to fish, there's like a slight delay before you can do anything at all. Like there's a little bit of like that slow roll animation to transform into something.
Yeah.
Chavo 55 kind of doesn't have that. Like it shows an animation of you transforming into a ball, but as soon as you start transforming into a ball, you're ready to rock and roll. Like there is no like 1 second, 2 second delay into this at all. Like there's no like extravagant cutscene like transforming you into a ball. Is as you're moving Chavo and you want to go into a ball, it makes the ball animation and you get going as a ball. And I can super appreciate that about these types of games.
That is certainly a very nice addition, and it also comes into play with how you have to beat some of the rooms. Like I said earlier, when you're in normal form, you fall straight down. So if you might have overshot something while being in ball form, you can quickly just transform back and you will just fall straight down. So they definitely thought that through, because otherwise some of these rooms would be super hard to do, and they are already super hard to begin with later on. So
but yeah, so like diving into, I guess not each level, but like what you're going to encounter playing the game. We'll start with enemies. You have like these walking missile dudes, I guess you can call them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know the proper name of them, but they look like little walking missiles.
Yeah, those are the common enemy. They can't really, like, a thing that we didn't mention really is if you are in robot form, you would die if something touches you. But if you're in ball form, that's also your attack, basically. So as long as you're in a ball, these guys can't hit you at all.
And then you have, I like your names, really. Hedgehog robot. So you got Sonic in the game all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's just a spiky robot, so you you can't jump on top of him. That's literally it. You can't kill these guys.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, because I can't remember the other actual enemies in the game. I don't think there are other enemies in the game. I think it's just those two. Yeah. Because I was looking through my video and I was like, I only see these two guys. I have no idea what the other enemies are. So I think those might be it, to be honest. Because this game isn't about enemies.
The game's about traversing through the stage and getting gems.
So yeah, I don't know if there are more enemies. If there are, let us know. But I don't remember any other ones. No. But yeah, what's more dangerous for Chalvo are actually the hazards throughout the stages. All stages consist of basically like spikes in holes and also black holes that will suck you up when you get too close. Again, these are only two hazards actually that there are, but there are a lot of them.
But there's a ton of them.
Yeah, and these are the two ones you definitely will see a lot and which you have to avoid in like a puzzle platform matter. You always have to figure out how to get past them without getting killed. You do have some objects throughout the stages that can help you out. Like you have springs in the ground that can launch you up very high when you're in ball form. You have these little movable platforms you can use to bridge a gap where there would be spikes, so you can put it over there. And there are also breakable blocks for you to jump on. They come, I think, in two varieties. Well, there's also the mirrors, which you can't get through. But the breakable blocks, it's either one hit, that's the crumbled block, or two hits, and that's the solid block. So you can use those to like jump higher or get over something, or go down like a shaft or something, and you have to break the blocks.
Like just going back to the hazards themselves, like what Mo said, like the enemies themselves aren't the things to worry about, because most of the time you're going to be in ball form in the game. But the spikes themselves, like you'll fall down to like the next screen, then all of a sudden you'll be greeted with like, you'll be like falling down next to a spike. You're just like, and then you bounce back up into the other screen, turn into robot form, and fall down so you can walk under the spikes and stuff. It's like, wow, boy, all right. So, spikes and black holes, there may be few hazards, but they are in plenty.
Yeah.
Items, so we have extra lives. Just every good game should just give extra lives. You have the Invulnerability Star, and then you have the Go Block. Um, the Invulnerability Star, is this the item where you get to stay as you go into ball form and you can just break everything you dive into, like there's no bouncing off of anything? Yeah. And then the Go Blocks are when you touch them, a door basically opens, so to speak. So like if you're bounced around, you'll see like these blocks with like an X over them or whatever. If you hit a Go Block, it'll basically disappear and you kind of go through. It's kind of how you traverse through the stages in a way.
Yeah.
There's also the teleportation blocks. Like these are items. A teleportation block is something you don't pick up, but it's something you can touch to teleport you somewhere in the stage. So
yeah, it's either in the same room or completely somewhere different. You'll
Yeah.
just have to find out by trying them
touching
out.
it. Literally just by touching it. The funny part about it too is that the teleportation block looks like if you've ever played like the old Sonic games, like Sonic 1 or Sonic 2, you know how like in the Sonic games they have like a TV, and like if you're gonna get a shield, it has like the round shield or like the bubble inside the TV.
Yeah.
That's what the teleportation block looks like. It's like a TV with like a Sonic shield inside of it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And then hidden rooms, which usually have 1-ups in them. So
Yeah, these hidden rooms, like, if you see something like a wall that is like a little weird and you look at your map and you see that there's nothing there, you probably just have to not punch, you press B against the wall and then it opens up, and that's like a hidden room. But you won't find... You won't need to go there, but you will probably find like an extra life or something in there.
Yeah, usually I would say that's a pretty common thing in platformers or just games in general. It's like, hey, you found a secret, have 1-ups or power-ups. Like I was playing Parasol Henby yesterday. Like I magically went into some bonus stage or bonus room. I don't know how I got hit by a bird that pooped on me while I was on an umbrella, and I went into a bonus room. And that's a sentence you don't say every day, but like I go into a bonus room and it's just littered with 1-ups and power-ups. I'm just like, oh, okay. And then it took me back to the beginning of the stage, which I was very upset about.
That is not cool.
Yeah, I was very upset about that. And I had to dodge moving trucks again. But yeah, I would say like hidden stages with like 1-ups or power-ups is a pretty common place, especially in retro games. Unless you play like The Simpsons or something where you go into a bonus stage and you just get beat up. So
yeah. One last thing to mention about the stages just in general is that this game is not a procedural puzzle. Meaning that if you solve a room and you would go back into that room, the room does not stay solved.
No,
you would have to redo the puzzle. But the thing about that is, the game wouldn't work otherwise, because it's a maze where you have to find these things, and sometimes solving a puzzle blocks you from going backwards, so that wouldn't make any sense. But a big thing about this game is that you have to find the best route through it, because otherwise you're gonna have to back travel a lot and a lot and a lot. And that will happen when you're playing this game the first time, for sure, because you're not sure where to go, where the crystals are, how to get them. But on another playthrough, or when you pick a stage, because there are passwords for each stage, it will start making more and more sense how you can do this in the preferred way to go through the maze, basically. But that's definitely something to keep in mind, that when you're playing this for the first time, you will have to redo puzzles a lot of times. And some are really finicky, I would say, to do. Like, I remember one, and it might be in World 2 or 3, that I had to redo like constantly because I kept forgetting where to go exactly. And that one is, there's more than one way to solve that one even, and eventually I found a quicker method, but it was also way more risky to do because you could fall into the spikes more easily. But I was so tired of seeing that room that I just tried the quick method. But yeah, just keep that in mind while playing this game.
And that's when you plug in the Game Genie. So bosses in this game.
Yeah, that you didn't expect that, did you? Bosses in a puzzle game.
I wouldn't have expected it in a game like this. Kirby's Block Ball, sure. You know, something like that, sure. Ultraman Ball, sure. But not Chavo 55. Just like how like the game is like presented. Like I would have never expected an actual like boss fights to these, but they follow a pattern of first being a contraption made by one of the alien, you put in here, quote-unquote, generals.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. So.
I called them robots, so I had
Yeah.
no idea. And then you fight the quote-unquote general itself. Yeah, do you want to go over boss? I feel like I've been talking this entire episode. Do you want to go over bosses?
Totally not, but sure, yeah, I will go over it. So yeah, it's like we said 8 stages, so 8 bosses or like one machine and then like one of the robots. That's basically how this goes. So the first boss is it's basically just a block controlled by the alien. Like you see the alien in his like command center, and there's just a block that goes from the left to the right, and on each side of the room are spikes. So if you get like stuck between the wall and the push block, you will land into the spikes and you will die. So the way you defeat this guy is by basically jumping over the block and landing on this big button in the middle of the stage that you need to hit to do damage. And it takes 4 hits. Every boss takes 4 hits, basically. So that's the first one. The second one is what I call the bull car. It's the alien on some car, and in the front of it, it's a bull. Like I can't really say much more than that. Again, there's spikes on each side of the room, so you have to avoid those. But there are also 2 black holes that you need to avoid while trying to jump over the car and actually hit the alien himself. Again, 4 times will take care of him. But that's pretty much what the second boss is. Then you go into the Piston Crusher. So again, the alien is in his command center, and he has this huge machine with pistons trying to bounce you all over the place, basically trying to bounce you into a pit where there are spikes. At the top of the stage, there is this big button again that you want to hit to do damage to the machine. But of course, it's blocked by one of those pistons, so you have to time it perfectly to land on it when the piston is retracting. So yeah, 4 hits again, and that will take care of this guy. And then you fight the guy himself again, and he also has, like, the other guy had a bull car, this guy has a piston tank. So it's like this big tank that he's driving around with pistons trying to bounce you back again into spikes that are on the floor. And you have to hit the alien on top of the machine, but they were of course nice enough to block his hitbox with one of those black holes and a spiked ceiling right above it. So again, you have to like be super precise to hit him. It's the black holes that are usually the problem. Like if you get too close to them, you get sucked in. But yeah, another 4 hits to take down this thing. The 5th boss is, I guess it's just a big version of that missile enemy that you sometimes encounter throughout the stages. It's just a big guy slowly walking on the floor. It's kind of a repeat of the first boss you fought with the block that pushes you around. This time it's a big missile pushing you around. But there is a tunnel you have to get into because that's where the button is. So you have to time it correctly so that he goes the other way while you are trying to hit the button 4 times to get rid of it. Then you go against the alien itself again in the 6th stage, and this time he has a spike face car. I literally can't say more of it. It's like this tiny car with spikes on the front of it. It's really dumb. Like,
when I first fought that boss, because like the helmet the alien wears too also has spikes on it.
yeah.
When I first fought this boss, I was like, do I jump on the alien or do I jump on the front of the car?
Right, yeah.
Answer is you jump on the alien.
Yeah. Always jump on the alien. But yeah, I don't I didn't even put something down, so I don't know there were spikes in the stage itself.
They're on the end.
On the end.
It's a simple fight. It's just a back and forth fight. Like there's nothing special about it at all. There are spikes on the end of it, and then obviously the spikes in the front of the car. The car goes left to right, pretty slow. You jump up and you just bounce on the alien's head, basically. You hit it once and jump off and avoid the spike head coming at you. But that's basically like the fight. 4 hits and it's toast. So
yeah. Like these car-based bosses are usually the easiest. It's like these big contraptions are usually a little bit harder to do. And yeah, in stage 7 you get the black hole gun wall. So it's like this huge wall with guns, actual guns, like revolvers on them, and they shoot black holes towards you. That's fun.
The best part about this fight, though, is how you get into it. You have to touch a teleporter block to go into the boss fight.
Yes, yeah. That's the only one where you do that, I think. Otherwise you have this this corridor leading up to them, but yeah, this one just teleports you through it. Interesting design. Not that hard. Like the button is on the left side. I think there's a black hole right next to it. But yeah, you just have to wait out the timing when the gun shoots black holes at you, and that's basically it. But this is actually a pretty simple boss. And then you go into the final boss with the alien, and of course they have some kind of car again. I guess a tank this time. And it shoots black holes at you. Like, what were you expecting? Yeah.
With black holes in the stage and spikes in the floor.
Yeah.
Which this was the boss that confused me the most, because the tank itself, like the front of it, looks like it has a button on it.
Yeah.
And since you're so used to hitting buttons for boss fights, I was jumping at the front of the tank thinking it was a button, and I would get shot by a black hole.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it shoots black holes. Okay. And then, like, you had to be a little careful, because like, even though the tank does move left and right at a slow pace, there's black holes on each side, and there's spikes across the floor. So you kind of have to be, like, careful of, like, when you jump, because, like, you don't want to, like, get hit by a shooting black hole, like, going at him or coming back from hitting him, but you also don't want to, like, jump as he's going under a black hole as well, too. So, like, easy fight, but, like, it definitely takes a little bit of timing and patience.
Yeah, that's basically most of these bosses are. The patterns are simple enough, it's just figuring out the timing for them. Other than that, you can't expect too much out of these bosses, because again, it is a puzzle game, basically. They couldn't, like, make some extremely hard to do boss or something like that. It's just avoid things and hope for the best, basically. But yeah, these bosses are pretty simple. The only downside is if you would game over at the boss, you have to replay the stage again. That's the only real downside this game has. It's okay in the earlier stages because they are so small, but like the last few stages are like so many rooms and such an intricate puzzle that you have to solve to get through the maze itself, that if you would die on the boss, it hurts. It's not fun to redo an entire stage,
especially
like
at the end of the game.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. That's the final alien. I guess you destroy the spaceship. I don't even remember.
Well, there's an exit cutscene as Chavo's in ball form, and he bounces out of like the corridor, like the hallway, and then jumps into space. and then like there's a bunch of explosions in the sky, and then he lands, and like Chavo's maker like has his hands out expecting a hug, and as Chavo starts to approach to give like his like a hug to his like creator, the game just fades away and goes into credits. Like you don't even know if Chavo hugs his creator or kills him. Like you just don't know.
Let's go with kill, because there was never a sequel.
So I mean, like it just fades into white and it goes into a staff roll. So
yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not a short game by any means. Like,
no,
it's also not a long game. Don't worry. But especially the first time you're playing this might take you like 3 hours for sure to get familiar with it. No.
Yeah, it's about what it took me, about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, so that's what you can expect. But luckily there are passwords, so it's not like you have to go through it in one sitting.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you beat a stage or a boss, you get a password. And then you kind of get this fun little cutscene where like it shows you like the next room you're going into. So it shows you like progression through like the mothership. Think of it like Castlevania. Like whenever you play Castlevania, like it shows you like the route you're taking into Dracula's castle. But like in this one, like it shows you like, oh, you're going into this room now of the mothership. You know, 1 of 8 or whatever it may be, and it flashes. So it has like a little like cutscenes in between them as well too, which I think is pretty cute.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty much the game, but if you do want more Chalvo, there is more Chalvo in this game. There's actually a hidden 9th stage, which you just need the password for. I think you get it at the end of the game, probably. Or maybe not, I don't know. But there is a password for the 9th stage. I can't get past the first room. I don't know what this is, but it's literally impossible. Like, I don't know if you tried it, but...
I attempted it, and I did not complete it, because it is exceptionally hard, but... I can tell you what the boss is, because...
Oh, there is a boss even. Wow.
I did watch the video of the 9th stage, and it is the same boss as he fought in stage 8, except there are a bunch more black holes.
Of course there are.
And he shoots more, and he's a tad bit faster. So, like, instead of having, like, 2 black holes, 1 on each end, you have 3 black holes that pretty much scatter throughout the entire stage, or, like, the room, with a bunch of spikes on the floor still. And you just have to jump and hit him 4 times. But, like I said, this one's a little bit tougher. But you still get the same exit cutscene of Chavo bouncing out of the corridor into space, walking up to his creator and killing him, and back to a staff roll again. You don't get anything really special upon completing it. You just can say that you beat the hardest stage of Chavo. So. Yeah, that's your bragging, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can beat it, wow, kudos to you, because I can't. I just can't. I tried, but I it's so hard.
I don't even know how far I got into it. I literally just gave up. Like I died like once or twice. I'm just like, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna like play this for an hour just on one stage just to fight an enemy. Just either just to say like, hey, congratulations, you completed the 9th stage, like go outside. Like, I didn't know there was a boss either until I watched the World of Long Plays video about it. So I was like, oh, there's a boss. I'm like, oh, it's the same thing as stage 8, but there's more stuff involved. And I watched it, I'm like, oh, there's no different ending? I'm like, what's the point? I was like, all right, I don't feel bad for not playing the 9th stage at all then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just if you won the challenge, there you go, but it's definitely not needed to finish the game at all.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, it is really, really hard. Like, no joke. I just don't know how to do it. I didn't know that Long Plays actually did that stage. Like, I've never seen it, but yeah, I tried it myself and I just couldn't.
Yeah, I I don't typically watch World of Long plays unless it's like something I know about but can't do it myself type deal. Or like something I know about but I refuse to like restart the game, play for 3 hours just to get to that point again.
Yeah.
So I'll go watch World of Long plays because they typically do a okay job at doing that. So
yeah, because usually it's a task anyway, so of course they would do it.
True.
But I mean, if you want to see it, just try it yourself. But if you can't do it, at least you can watch may or not. Wow, I can talk. You can see it being played by maybe a real person, or maybe, probably, most definitely not a real person. So there you go.
This one is definitely not by a real person, judging by how Chavo moved. So
yeah. That's pretty much Chalvo. This is a hard game to not to talk about, but to if you have not played it yourself, it's hard to visualize, I believe, by just hearing us talk about it. But I mean, we have our videos up, and just go check it out yourself, of course. Or when the YouTube episode comes out, you can see the game in the background. But yeah, this is a hard game to visualize through speech, I think. But I hope we at least did a good job of selling it.
If you've played like the ROM hack Bouncing Ball or Cool Ball or Ultraman Ball, Ball. Yeah, I'll throw Ultraman Ball into there too. You have an idea of what Chavo is going to be like, because in Bouncing Ball and Cool Ball you don't transform, you're just a ball. That's all there is to it. But it's bouncing from platform to platform and like maneuvering through a puzzled stage. Ultraman Ball, you can transform from Ultraman to ball form and bounce around and get through the stage, right? Chavo is like a mixture of both of those things put together. Like, you can turn into a Chavo robot or Chavo ball, and the ball form lets you bounce and get through the stages in a puzzle format, all while defeating enemies in your path. And then the robot form, which is your most vulnerable form, is the form that lets you get by a lot of like the skinnier pieces of the stage in itself, and is actually needed to progress through some of the puzzles. So if you've heard of, watched, or played any of those games before, you kind of have an idea of what you're getting into with Chavo 55. So yeah, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this very interesting box art. I actually like this box art a lot. And we have actually got some trivia, quote-unquote trivia, for this game as well, too. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. So, cover art for Chavo. Interesting cover art, I will say that. Very cartoony. So very forefront of it, you have basically what says Chavo 55 in Japanese, and underneath that, super puzzle action with stars in between each word. And like this, like, silver gray textured I guess plaque with stars on the top, because it has a round top with a ball that resembles what Chavo looks like in ball form. And then behind that you have Chavo in robot form, which looks like a beetle, in my opinion. Very cute looking beetle as well too, which I wouldn't have ever imagined Chavo being red. You know, obviously playing Game Boy, Chavo's going to be black or green or whatever. But like, I would never imagine Chavo being red. Because like, when I think of robot, I think of like gunmetal gray or black or, you know, something along those lines. But like, never red and like a neon yellow. You know, so. And then behind that, I don't know what these are. Germs? Aliens? I don't know, because like there's some things that look like a little like squid, like germ thing. It has like a rat, or like a jellyfish has like a dome top with a bunch of like tendrils on the bottom with giant eyes. There's like jack-o'-lanterns, which you don't like, which, yeah, and then you have like this other alien thing that's like top left corner, like picking its nose. You have something with like a Zelda hat on as well too, and it's kind of like washed out in green, like Game Boy green, but I have no idea what like any of that stuff is at all.
Yeah, I think it's a representation of some of the enemies you encounter for sure. But like when you encounter them in game, they look more robot-like, and here they are like just super cute, cartoonsy things, basically.
Yeah,
But it's a nice style, at least. I really
it is.
enjoy
Yeah.
this cover. It's nice to look at.
Yeah, it's not overbearing, because like a lot of times when we look at red, because like if going into like a bit of like art like history and art psychology, like when you look at certain colors, like they generate a mood inside of you. Like this box art has a lot of red associated with it, and red in art is associated to violence and anger, and but like the red is not overbearing enough to like make me like be quote unquote violent or angry, but like there is a lot of it happening, because like the top border is red, the bottom border is red, Chavo is red, and Chavo is right in the middle of it. Basically, like they create an eye, a capital I in red, right in front of your face, but they do such a nice job breaking up the red colors that it's not just like in your face, here's a red box, look at it. Because like even like the slight, the yellowy green background behind Chavo, like my eye gets drawn to that quite a bit as well too, because it helps break up that monotony of red. Also in the logo itself, you have like a yellow and a white, and then you have like the silver background. Then you have the Japan System Supply logo, which is a blue oval with a white cat and a bow tie in it. And then like the lettering at the top of the red border is in blue and white as well too, so it helps breaks up some of that red. There, like I said, there's a lot of red on this box art, but it's not overbearing at all. And I think a lot of it too has to deal with a lot of like the harsh like outlines throughout the actual like cartoony part of the art as well too, because Chavo has really thick black outlines around him, and then in the background, the outlines for the aliens or the enemies or whatever they're supposed to be is the same color as like the backdrop to them, which is a darker green. So it kind of looks like, so like all that negative space is kind of like starts to like work with each other and kind of makes everything kind of pop in its own different way.
Yeah, it's a very good composition that they did for this, and like the colors, even though they shouldn't complement each other that well,
No,
they do for some reason. So it's very well done. Like kudos to the designer of that box art for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like I have that Kirby manga now, that volume 1.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that. If it's like the Kirby manga is more of like, it's like a shiny print.
It is. Yep.
But yeah, like I could see the Kirby manga thing like being in this style for sure. It has that kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, no, if you want to actually see the box art, like, recommend just Googling Chavo 55 box art. Box art. It's a very, very nice, very nicely made box art. So
it's one of the few Japanese covers that actually has a pretty high quality scan, because usually they're like super tiny.
Yeah.
But this one is just like, yeah, you can find a really good image of it.
yeah, so trivia. You got some. I guess we already went over the bound the bound high trivia, didn't we? But I guess I'll go over the ROM hacking piece that I found. So this game actually got translated there's a lot of mystery behind the translation of this ROM as well too. The translated ROM was just found floating around the internet as a hacked ROM, and no one could figure out who the original author was. So a person by the name of King Mike basically took liberty of converting it to a patch on romhacking.net, basically. But he is not involved with the actual translation in itself, so no one knows if the translated ROM is even complete, because no one has ever played the translated ROM to confirm it. And this translated ROM was released January 29th of 2004.
I can confirm it's complete. Okay. Because that's the one I played, and don't expect a huge translation or anything, because the only two things that are translated are on the title screen. It says begin or continue in English, and otherwise it would just say the Japanese. That's literally all that's been translated. So
I mean, that's all you need to translate.
The rest is in English. So.
It's all in English.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that got translated. So, but yeah, I can confirm it's a complete ROM or complete translation, because that was all there was to it. So yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Mo is the first person to ever play the translated ROM for Chavo 55.
I doubt it, but yeah. But yeah, I have the video on my YouTube, so I mean that is the ROM that I used. It says translated by Lame Boy, but yeah, I don't know who Lame Boy is. Like it gets used. It gets used a lot for repros and things like that. But yeah, or isn't Lame Boy an emulator? I think it's an emulator even. Lame Boy. Yeah, it's a DS emulator, actually. DS
emulator.
Yeah. Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulation for the DS. Ah, okay. So yeah, maybe the team of Lame Boy just did that quote-unquote translation. And I mean, it says so at the title screen, so...
I have no idea. Apparently romhacking.net doesn't know either,
yeah.
So... Because that's where I pulled that information from. The fact that it had a translation actually just blew my mind, because I was just like, when I played, I was like, oh, okay. But then it's like, there's a translation. I'm like, where are they going to translate? Like 4 words?
Yeah. Literally the title screen. That's all.
It's like translating Kirby's Dream Land, where you only have to translate the title screen, and that's it.
Yeah.
Hobby, I guess, whatever. Translate something more useful, like Hari Manada or something.
You're right.
So I know if there's credits in the game. General reception of the game. I don't know if you can find anything on this, but I couldn't find much about the general reception of the game. So a lot of it's just like assumption. So like the original designer, Nakanishi, just didn't have interest with the Game Boy version for Chavo 55. And since the game was actually pretty hyped up for Virtual Boy, because like I said, it was showcasing a lot of like game showcasey type things back then, and was set for the relaunch of the Virtual Boy. Since none of that happened, I could imagine like it fell under like skepticism of like, whether or not the game was like actually going to be good, or just the general public just lost interest of the game itself.
Yeah, in new media, like Boys Bound High is people love it, so they say it's one of the best 3 Virtual Boy games that exist. So, well, that doesn't really exist, but
yeah,
that could have existed, but you can't play it. So, there you go.
Yeah, there was no such thing as Virtual Boy emulators in the 90s. So
yeah,
if you wanted to play it, well, better find someone with a 3.5 floppy disk and flash it over to a Virtual Boy card. So yeah, just I guess we'll dive into the history. We'll start with you, Mo. Like I learned about this game from you, so I don't know how much history you have of the game at all.
Yeah, I've played through it twice for portable pleasure. Like once at the start, but then I lost the. Well, I didn't record when I started like an idiot, so I had to replay a lot of games. But yeah, this one was one of them, and I can't even remember if somebody just picked it from my list or that it was just a random pick from me. Because usually people don't really select Japanese games from my list, so then I'm like, let's play this Japanese one, we'll see what it is. But I really enjoyed it from the start. I thought it was a really cool concept, and I absolutely love the music in it. It is a reworked version of the Virtual Boy game, of course, but all the tracks in this game are really good. Like, it's weird that this person only made one soundtrack, to be honest, because it's very jaunty. It's very fun. They're not like really long tracks, but they don't get boring either when playing through the levels, so that's cool. But yeah, in later stages, I do remember getting frustrated a bit when trying to do like the harder jumps and things like that. So when you miss a jump and you die and you have to replay a lot of rooms just to get back to where you were, it can get a little frustrating. So maybe this isn't a game to like play in one sitting, but just like take it easy, which you can because there are passwords. But yeah, usually when you fail, it's because of your own fault. It's not the game's fault. Like, the game works perfectly fine, but yeah, it does take some figuring out later on to use the two forms basically at the same time to get over some of the things. But yeah, I really like this game. I will probably play it again someday for sure.
Yeah, like I said, like I learned about the game from you. So like my exposure to this game is actually pretty limited. Because I'm just not a big fan of puzzle games to begin with, so I don't actively seek out puzzle games to play. I remember first hearing about it from you when you put it into the Tiny 10.
Yeah.
And that's when I played it for a small bit, just to like understand what the game was, play through it so I could not sound as much of an idiot in commentary. But I thought it was a pretty interesting game. I didn't finish it playing it at that time, but I thought it was an interesting game in itself. And then, oddly enough, like a year after that Tiny 10 happened, Swordsman Kirby DM'd me or walked up to me at a GDQ and asked me about Chavo 55, and I was just like, oh, like I didn't expect, anyone to ever walk up to me and ask me about Chavo 55,
Yeah.
I guess SK would be the one to do it, but like I was kind of like thrown off. So like him and I had a conversation about the game and its speedrun, because like at the time Wolfmeric had a run up like 4 years ago of like a 40-minute time or whatever, and then SK was looking for a new game and found it, and then knew that I knew a little bit about it, or like watched me play it on stream or whatever it was. And so we had a conversation about it, and I told him some like things about the game, but like how like some of the physics work and everything else. And then I finally eventually played through the entire game for the podcast. I literally finished it like last week. Like I had vacation all week, so I literally just played it in bed. when I was up at 6 in the morning and Mo was yelling at me to go to sleep. I just played it in bed, and I finished. I think I finished it like Wednesday or something like that. And I'm like, it's a pretty fun game. Like, it's a puzzle game. Like, it's definitely a puzzle game, but like it's a different type of puzzle game. Like, it's actually like an enjoyable puzzle game that is cute. Has the sprites are big enough to know like what you're doing as well too, which I think is like the major thing for this game. Because if it was anything like Quirk or Amazing Tater or anything of that scale, I think this game would not have done. This game would not be, one of my top like 5 puzzle games at all, because like the scale would have been too small. Even something like Bouncy Ball or Cool Ball, like that scale works for those types of games. But if Chavo was anything on that scale, I would have not liked this game. Period. I think some of the shining grace to this game is the actual like detail that's actually gone into some of the sprites. So like even though like Mo and I said like missile enemy, hedgehog robot, things like that, there's actually quite a bit of detail into each piece of the game. Especially Chavo itself. Like Chavo in the game looks pretty similar to what you would see Chavo on the cover, and the Chavo ball is actually pretty damn adorable.
Yeah.
But it actually made the game bearable to play for like a moderate amount of time. I said, like I lay in bed and play for 30, 45 minutes, going through and to basically get to my next password and stop. But like it was nice. Like once I get to the password, wrote it down and stopped. I was like, oh, like that wasn't too bad. Like I looked, I'm like, oh, like 30 minutes passed, 45 minutes passed. It didn't feel like it. But I was like, all right, this isn't too bad. Versus something like Catrap or Real Ghostbusters or something where I'm just like, oh, I feel like I've been playing this game for 8 hours. I look down, I've only been playing it for 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think the game it's a very good puzzle game coming from someone who doesn't like puzzle games. So,
Yeah, I can
it's
definitely
it's
see
definitely top 5 for me. So, in terms of puzzle.
Yeah, I do like puzzle games. I'm just not very good at them. But like this is just different enough. Like it's a puzzle platformer, which already makes a difference. But there are a lot of puzzle platformers where they really want you to again think for like 20 minutes before figuring out how to even get through an actual room. This is not that. It's like you're always going somewhere, but then you get stuck and you're like, oh, I had to go somewhere else, and then you figure it out. It's a lot more compact like that. It's not intricate puzzles, but it's more just maze-like. You just have to figure out where to go to get through everything. And that's what I do like in puzzle games, because I can understand it on a basic level. I don't have to like play it for 20 hours to figure out how actually I have to play the game. Looking at you, Picross. Like, I mean, I had to teach myself how to solve a nonogram, because Picross is just a brand name like Band-Aid or something, of course. But yeah, I had to learn how to actually solve nanograms before I could basically play it on a level that I'm satisfied with. So, and that this game doesn't do that. Like, you immediately understand what you have to do, and you can figure out a room in like a minute. It's just doing it that's harder than figuring it out. So,
yeah, I play Picross on my phone, but like it's pretty small, like square sizes. Like I've watched you play Picross for a while now, and I'm just like, I'm not looking forward to that at all. So, and just a quick, this quick speed run section that we have, I guess. Swordsman Kirby does hold the world record for Chavo 55, with a time of 29 minutes and 19 seconds, which was 2 years ago. So if you're looking for a fun puzzle speed run and want to take on Swordsman Kirby, this is your game to do it.
Yeah, and I think I remember SK saying like it's not even optimized or anything like that, really. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. But that's a pretty good time for this game, anyhow.
Yeah, it's a very good time. Yeah. Even if it's not optimized, like beating this game in under a half hour is no super easy feat in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're gonna take another short break here. When we come back, we got some Game Boy community, or I guess community events in general, popping up, and then you guys get to hear what we're gonna talk about next time. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. Community events coming up. Game Goyles episode 2. So our friend slash Finity has done Game Goyles episode 1, which was in what, July? June, July,
yeah, July, yeah, last month.
Where Mo played Darkwing Duck and I did Little Mermaid and Shaq Fu for Game Goyles episode 1. So Slash is again doing Game Goyles episode 2, which is going to be benefiting Equal Justice, the Equal Justice Initiative. Submissions are open September 18th, so if you're looking to submit to a speedrun marathon, it's just a weekend long. This is a pretty good one to submit to. Most of the people that are working behind the scenes, like I know personally, have met personally, so hang out with at GDQs. Very awesome people, so get your submissions in on September 18th. Marathon is set to be going on November 19th to the 21st, so the week before Thanksgiving for American audience. One of my favorite speedrunning marathons of the year, Big Bad Game-a-thon, which is presented by Kusa Grande or Brosencha. Submissions are currently closed for this, and the marathon is slated to go September 10th through September 12th. And I am real excited for this because Dancing Furby for the Game Boy Color is going to be in the first day, which is a DDR Furby game on the Game Boy Color. You're not gonna want to miss that because that is like the 5th run of the first day. Gonna be awesome. Tensai Bekabon for the Game Boy is going to be ran as well too by Tristan. Obviously, there's gotta be a Barbie Fashion Pack game going on with Sharif. What else we got going on here? There's a few other Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy games happening as well too. So definitely, you're definitely want to check out Big Bad Game-a-thon. Even if it's non-Game Boy, go check it out because it's so good to watch. It's amazing just how many bad games are out there. So
yeah, more than good games for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Sharif is doing a Barbie shuffler on the first day. Like, that's quality entertainment. Like, if you don't know what the BizHawk shuffler is, basically at certain intervals as you're playing a game, it just automatically shuffles to another game. So, like, if you're playing the game for, like, 30 seconds, it's going to automatically shuffle to another game. And I did this for the Kirby trilogy, and it was brutal. Sharif is going to do it for Barbie games, and that's going to be amazing to watch. So that's going to be a good time. And then we have Speedruns Ragnarok. Submissions are currently closed for this. The marathon is slated to go October 10th through October 16th. So in between your Big Bad Game-a-thon watching, you can also watch Speedrun Ragnarok. And in this, I mean, there's going to be a decent amount of PC games because online marathons, it's easier to capture PC stuff. But there's definitely some older stuff. We got Super Nintendo, we got Game Boy, and everything else in here as well, too. So definitely give them a check out as well. Marathon section. All right. Well, that's all I got for marathon section. AGDQ is coming up. I'm sure they'll have stuff and whatnot. Yeah, whatever. I'm sure, like, insert bad Game Boy game will get accepted. One Game Boy game will get accepted. Insert bad Game Boy title, and Mo and I will complain about it. So,
yeah, definitely something to look forward to.
I'll still submit Shaq Fu, and I'll keep submitting Shaq Fu Game Boy until it gets in. But, yeah, so, outro time. The best part of the episode, because it's always on the fly and never the same.
Even though the information stays the same. But...
Even though the notes for the outro never change at all. The way we go about it changes every episode.
Makes it at least a little bit more interesting, in my opinion.
It makes it less robotic, alright?
Yeah.
You just know that we're not recording something and just injecting it. You know? Just imagine if we had sponsors like insert name VPN, insert name Shadow Legends.
Well, it would just come up randomly as well. It would get mentioned, but it would still be randomly.
It definitely wouldn't have like a scripted part to it at all. But if you all have thoughts and suggestions about the podcast, please let us know. You know, DM Mo, Legs, or myself. You know, throw it into the This Is Game Boy Discord. Excuse me. Tell us on stream. You know, whatever. Wherever. We're pretty actively available on multiple platforms nowadays. So, yeah, let us know if we're doing bad, good, neutral. I will say, like, the 3-year episode we wrapped up a month ago was actually one of the more fun episodes that we got to do, just simply because, like, A, we had Legs on, so now you understand that Legs can talk and she actually has a voice. And B, it was just fun to, like, reminisce about the actual podcast and, like, understand, like, wow, like, we've actually grown a lot in 3 years, you know? Like, for me, that was a lot of fun to do, and I really hope that the audience really enjoyed listening to that 3-year episode.
Yeah, and that was, like, I mean, it was not scripted, really. We just had our outline, so we should talk about that, but we were just talking, really. We didn't have to go over conversation. Yeah.
The back and forth that the three of us had is literally like how the three of us talk in DMs, basically. You know, so
minus the memes in between, because of course we can't. Well, we say a lot of memes as well, but
true. We haven't had a Creed meme in a while, though. I'm a little disappointed in us.
That's true.
I feel like this is out of order, but whatever. So, where can they find us? You can find me, eBloodyCandy, on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, because I actually post there now. I guess TikTok. I just watch TikToks. I really don't make any TikToks. Yeah, just on those platforms. You can find our wonderful producer, Legs. SprintingLegs on Twitch and Twitter, Legs on YouTube, and then her project website, SprintingLegs.com. Definitely go check it out. She works on a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes. Really dedicated to the retro community, especially the Game Boy community. And where can they find you, Mo?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and I guess Instagram as well, all with the same handle, Moelle, which is written Moelleuh.
Mo's on Instagram. We're gonna get Mo on OnlyFans here soon too, before they cut off all the sexual explicit stuff.
What else would you even have to put on there then?
Gotta get those feet pictures up, man.
Feet pictures, yeah, for sure. Wow.
And if you feel like supporting the podcast in any way monetarily, we do have a Patreon, which I think we're going to. I don't want to say redo, but
we're gonna add something basically.
Adjust, yeah. We're gonna add some stuff to the Patreon, and at $20 a month, Mo and I will actually live stream these. So I will actually need to shower in the mornings and not go to bed at 7 o'clock in the morning to do so. If subscription stuff ain't your thing because everything in the world is subscription based now, and you still want to support us monetarily, we do have a PayPal. The only thing with PayPal is if you do donate via PayPal, please let one of the three of us know. We want to say thank you and give you some reward for being a valued listener and for monetarily supporting the pod. I almost said stream the podcast. And we just can't tie Discord and PayPal together, but we can tie Discord and Patreon together. And we also have a merch store that's been rolling for the last couple months. We just, I guess, semi-recently, within the last 2 weeks, took down the limited edition This Is Game Boy shirt, and now the quote-unquote normal edition This Is Game Boy shirt is up now, which is the This Is Game Boy logo. The shirts are super nice, like not just, not trying to like oversell, but like I have a couple of them and they're pretty nice. I will say that. And I have a coffee cup as well too, which I use for water during the podcast, and it works fantastically. I told you people would buy the coffee cup, Mo. I told you.
Yeah, some people have bought a coffee cup indeed. Yeah. As a non-coffee drinker, I really don't give a hoot about coffee cups. So
you can use it for tea.
But I don't drink that either.
My God.
So I just drink either bottled water or cans of something. So yeah.
Cans of something.
Like an iced tea or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, and sometimes I even use my shaker for like a like an energy powder thing or something like that. But besides that, like I will never use a cup in my life, probably.
A certain type of fuel that isn't sponsoring us right now.
Yeah. like some fuel that the gamer could use. Like if only there was a name for that, that would be easy to pronounce.
If only someone made a gamer fuel.
Imagine that.
If money is not your thing, perfectly fine. Listening to the podcast, obviously hugely helps us, because without listens, like Mo and I probably wouldn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Without listens, like the podcast just doesn't exist. So just listening to the podcast is hugely helpful. Liking it, reviewing it, just interacting with the actual podcast in itself is a huge amount of support for Mo, Legs, and myself. So always appreciate you all that interact and rate the podcast. I think we're still at a 5-star rating on Apple, because this is the best Game Boy podcast out there. So
it is true. Like that's not even a lie. It is the best Game Boy podcast out there. I mean, I can't say it's not true, because it is.
Yeah. We're definitely the one with the most episodes as well, too.
Yeah. And the longest running, I think, as well at this point.
I think so. We would never lie on this podcast.
No.
Always the truth.
No.
Always the truth. And if we don't know it, we just stretch the truth.
Yeah. Like with Amazing Penguin. Like, I mean, that was all true what we said.
It is true. I mean, look at the penguin's face.
Yeah.
So, I mean... But all jokes aside, like, we always appreciate you all. Those of you that interact with us in Discord, those of you that comment, interact with us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that. Always super appreciate it. We appreciate you all. And you can find all of this information, like where to listen, if you're into the payment stuff, wanting to figure out where you can find Mo, Legs, and I. All this can be found on thisisgameboy.com. And
that about wraps it up. That's all we can say for the outro for sure. Yeah.
And then the next game, I don't know whose pick it is.
Yours, kinda. Because I suggested Chalvo 55, or I don't even remember what the other one was, and you said, well, let's do Chalvo then, so...
well, people wanted the Mario franchise, and I just don't want to talk about Mario 2 at all, because that's a really terrible game. Maybe you and Hero can do Mario 2. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of games to choose from.
That is true.
It's definitely not a lack of Game Boy games out there. Let's see. I feel like Parasol Himby would be a better light episode than a full episode.
Yes.
You know, we could do Felix the Cat.
We could do Felix the Cat, yeah.
There is actually a lot to talk about with Felix. Cartoon, comics, video game. There's a lot with Felix. Let's do Felix the Cat, if you're cool with that.
Alright, Felix the Cat it is now.
Hell yeah. Alright, the next time you hear from Mo and I, we're going to talk about Felix the Cat for the Game Boy. See you next time.
See you all later.
How do aliens harvest their crops? With tractor beams. Where do aliens like chilling the most? The space bar. Nailed it.